Myself and Benjamin Overfield, I grew up 150 miles from here in Ypsilanti County, which is a canal town. You may have been to Roscoe Village. They've got their own canal boat. I am also a brother Benjamin was. I'm on my second wife, like Benjamin was. My third great grandfather fought in the Revolutionary War, was wounded, captured, and escaped. So you gotta watch out for them Cox boys. If you trap them in a corner, they'll get out.
It's going. Did anyone not get a brochure tonight? All right, will you come see me, or I'll try to come to you? And Bill is gonna go ahead with it.
As I catch my breath.
Sorry.
I've been over here 50 years. We have hills in Ypsilanti County. I don't have any over here that I can practice on. Welcome, friends, to my final resting place. I am Benjamin Overfield II, a bedrock founder of Troy, Ohio. As fate would have it, I was born in 1774, nearly a year before the first shots fired at Lexington and Concord that would signal the start of the American Revolution. What a time to make an entrance into this world. My parents were Benjamin and Maria Gonzalez Overfield from Northampton County, Pennsylvania. My father fought in the aforementioned War for Independence. And it was said he was to have been with George Washington that legendary night that he crossed the Delaware on Christmas Eve to ambush the Hessian mercenaries camped near Trenton, New Jersey. That fateful night was so cold, my father had to have 2 toes amputated due to frostbite. I grew up hearing tales of strife and heroism that characterized this war. My mother was of Spanish-Dutch descent, and her family were some of the earlier settlers of New York. As most young men of my day, I sought out and married a capable young woman. Her name was Margaret Snow. The year was around 1800. Margaret and I had conveniently met while I was visiting my brother in Quebec, Canada. We went back to Pennsylvania, where I was born, but would not remain there long. You see, the lust for westward expansion was burning inside many a young man's chest. The eastern states, though much less populous than today, were becoming too crowded in some people's minds. Forging a new life further west, where land was easily attained and people could carve out a new life, became the dream of many of young families. Such was the case for me and my new wife, Margaret. The trip was long and grueling, and definitely tested the resilience of our devotion to one another as newly married couple. But against all odds, Margaret and I would thrust ourselves forward into the wild west of the Ohio country. Around 1803, we made it to the heavily forested area of what would eventually become Miami County. A settlement had been carved out near the river, and a few locals that were there called it Dutch Station, or Staunton, which is that way. Margaret and I began at once making a living for ourselves in what would become the city we know today. Troy would not be officially platted until 1807, when Andrew Wallace took up the worthy challenge and gave us a first drawing of the layout of Troy. We refer to this the 1807 flat with 87 original lots to this day. We settled in lot number 2, the northeast corner of Water and Mulberry Streets. It is here that we would build our log cabin, eventually expanding it over time. In 1808, it became a tavern, which was at the time like a hotel. Taverns at the time were a community hub. Not only did it offer visitors a place to stay, but local folks would go there to gather, to gab, a drink or meal, and hear the latest news and confer with other contemporaries. That would be Frontier Facebook, without the pesky ads. Our essay listeners, Margaret and I found success in this line of work, and even had time to welcome 2 children of our own into the world, John in 1804 and Susan in 1806. Life was progressing amiably for our young Overfield family, toilsome though it was. It was no easy undertaking to tame this wild frontier, maintain a house and tavern, and keep the Native Americans at bay. But with the insatiable spirit of our forebears, the people of Troy were establishing a community, one log structure at a time. It was in 1810 when personal tragedy would strike. My wife of nearly a decade, Margaret, would die from unknown causes. She was interred in the old Pioneer burial ground where Forest Elementary School now sits. I was left without my most intimate partner and had 2 young children to raise and a tavern to run. Aside from this, tension was mounting with the Native Americans, who were backed by England. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So the saying goes. Natives were still resentful for the invasion of their land, and the British certainly had an axe to grind considering the American Revolution in the not-so-distant past. I, Benjamin Overfield, would take up arms to fight against the British and their allied Native American forces in the summer of 1812. I had arranged for a local widow, Mrs. Tenery, to care for my young children in my absence. Something of a whirlwind romance would soon transpire as I would court and marry a lady I met while stationed at Fort Greenville, Rebecca Something. We were quickly married, and after my military service, we settled back at the Overfield Tavern in the bustling but still primitive town of Troy. Rebecca took over the care of my 2 kids and helped me run my business. Our tavern had an excellent reputation and drew in much business despite competition. Despite my success as a tavern keeping, it is surmised that I was not the most well-educated man. We don't have that in common. Early records of Troy show me signing paperwork with an X, signifying that I could not write. However, I apparently learned at some point during my stay here, as my later paperwork shows a shaky yet determined signature. There was something of a kerfuffle in 1817 when a certain Mr. John Roberts came to town and received lodging at the Overfield Tavern. He had taken up residence there to oversee the construction of a mill race. Apparently, my wife, the attractive Rebecca Overfield, caught the eye of John Roberts, and there may have been some hanky-panky that went down. At any rate, I sued Mr. Roberts for alienating the affection of my wife. I won the case, and Mr. Roberts had to fork over $200 and pay court costs. There you go. My wife and I, by all appearances, made up with each other, and so continued life. The Overfield Tavern was used for a couple other interesting reasons besides housing guests. In the early years, there was no official courthouse, so court at times was held in my building. Imagine being a tavern guest, but also getting the scoop on the local courtroom. Additionally, Overfield Tavern was used for Masonic meetings. I was a member of this famed secret society, and is even said to have been a master mason. In 1824, there was a devastating fire that destroyed much of Water Street, but it didn't quite reach the Overfield Tavern. Around this time, I decided to sell my building on Water Street and move closer to the hub of town, the new brick courthouse in the public square. This building signified a bright and illustrious future for Troy, as the county seat of Miami. My new tavern on the public square was named the Cross Keys Tavern. The cross key symbol was a toast to my involvement with the Masons. Business continued as usual, and Rebecca and I ran the tavern until my death in 1831 at age 57. So here I lie. No doubt my wife and children stood where you are standing to mourn me. Rebecca later remarried to a canal boat captain from New York. But this was not a happy union, and it soon ended. Rebecca sold the tavern, left town, leaving no trace of where she ultimately ended up. Such is the tale of Benjamin Overfield II. It may technically end here at this headstone, but a thriving legacy is alive and well today in the form of the Overfield Tavern Museum, in the same location on Water Street where Benjamin and Margaret first built it. This museum, like Overfield himself, is steadily overcoming the toils and challenges that life throws at it, and looking forward to a radiant future. Thank you for your time.
Very good. 1824.